Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis, update of commodities. We're going to take a look and dive into the dollar, yields, precious metals, and into the commodities and ETFs, the ones that at least I follow. If you guys need any help with anything, you can definitely check out the finding-value.com channel, or I should say the website. Discount code for the platinum members, so you can get a discount on it. I am phasing out the silver membership eventually, and just going with the platinum membership. So what we've got today looks pretty good. So I'm going to give you my financial opinions. We're going to dive right in here and take a look. We've got the DXY. The DXY is a relative strength indicator of the dollar. And looking at the dollar, we had this massive run higher here. And we haven't really sold off much. So generally when I see that type of setup, it wants to move to the upside. And what that means is that you've got lots of buying force or pressure, and there's not much selling pressure here. It's one gigantic bloody nose, so to speak. So if you were to kind of back out on it, that's what it looks like with this kind of reversal hammer candlestick and then the move higher and just a little sell-off weekly candlestick. So the likelihood of this going higher is there. It's got that kind of statistical probability. I know people say, well, it's a statistical probability. I don't know, it's probably 70% or so, something like that. 70, 80% is what I've seen. Look at the 10-year yield. This is what's driving that dollar higher. Our yields moving higher. So when the yield moves higher, what that means is that the monetary conditionings, or the monetary conditions of, we'll say, the bond market in the United States is tighter than other currencies. The relative tightness gives you the resultant of the relative strength of the dollar. So if the dollar is, let's say yields are moving higher and it's going and getting tighter in the dollar versus another currency, then it'll manifest itself in a stronger dollar, or DXY, looking at it from a relative strength. They could all be dive bombing to the downside. It's just this one's dive bombing less. But this still looks good to move higher for yields. We've got a bullish engulfing here and another bullish engulfing here. That to me looks like yields want to move higher. And we've got a broken downtrend line with a back test finished and completed today. The 30-year yield also doing the same thing as the 10-year yield, a breakout to the upside. We had a bullish engulfing here. We have another candlestick that kind of is back testing. And to me, this either is going to go sideways or higher based off of the candlesticks and the interactions with previous days. Think of it and the broken downtrend line. Bond prices slightly lower, down 0.23%. This still looks like to me that it wants to go lower. I'm basing it off of these two large red candlesticks here and not much buying pressure. And generally you get like some sort of pattern that maybe comes up and then we break back down to the downside. So yields moving higher means bond prices moving lower. The TYX-TNX ratio continues to go lower. It looks like it wants to continue to go lower. What that means is that the yield curve is inverting. An inverted yield curve means that you've got the short end continuing to go up at a faster pace than the back end, or the 30-year. So this is the 10-year versus the 30-year. And when that happens, generally it's an inflationary type move. And this can stay down here for a while. I've talked about this before in a long-term perspective, that we can stay down at a level for quite a long time. And we could even come down further to the downside if it wants to. And why do I keep thinking that we're going to go lower? Because I still think we're in an inflationary environment. I don't think it's going to go 100% away. And if oil kicks back up here, I think that's going to put pressure for inflation to come back. That's really ultimately what it is. But, I could be wrong, but that's why we're watching and monitoring this stuff. The CRB index, a little bit higher today, up 0.28%, still looks all right. We've broken this downtrend line and we've kind of just moving sideways here. At some point, I think this is going to break to the upside. I don't know the exact timing. I know everybody wants the timing to get the price and the timing exactly right. I don't know if anyone can do that. So what you do is you look for breakouts, and you get a breakout, you get a retest, That would have been a good buying point. This would have been a good buying point. And then you just hold on and wait for those conditions to arrive. And if they don't arrive, and let's say the short term, there's a problem in the short term, you just hold on and keep riding it. As long as the structural market conditions underneath it, the fundamentals are strong. And I'm mainly talking about oil, really, for the CRB index, because that's the main component to it. CRB to S&P 500 down slightly today. We're still in this downtrend channel for the ratio here. So the S&P 500 is still outperforming commodities in the short term. Gold, basically flat. I mean, we've got a flat dollar. We've got slightly stronger yields. And gold, I mean, it doesn't necessarily like those market conditions. But looking at this, I don't see a clear turning point here. So I'm going to have to say that this is going to continue in a downtrend move until I see a reversal candlestick or a pattern. Silver. Now, silver, we touched about 2150 right here. See that little wick, and I've got that resistance support line going across. This could be at a turning point right now, and we just don't see it in gold yet. That's why we look at all the precious metals. So this does look like we could go up with some time. We do have support right underneath us, and we're getting a little bit of buying pressure on the bottom there at about 2150, 2160. So this does look like it's trying to turn and put a move on. And now what we're looking for is buying pressure. That's what we're looking for right now. Platinum, platinum's not as gracious here. This still looks like we want to go lower. So silver's the only one that looks like it wants to try to turn around. Gold and platinum still look like they've got some more downside left in this tank. And I love this. Hopefully we can get down a little bit down here. And I will be buying some physical platinum and reloading into, I'll say, adding to the position. XAU to gold ratio, slightly higher. It does look like it wants to try to turn, but I mean, we did just break out of this pattern to the downside here. A lot of the times, you get like a break, it comes back up, and then we go back lower. So there is a possibility that this heads on higher, but I don't really try to speculate on the short term. I look at the big picture view. That's really what I look at. And we still haven't broken this big downtrend line for the XAU to gold ratio. It means that we're still in unfavorable market conditions for the gold and silver mining companies because they're not outperforming the commodity itself. And that's kind of pathetic, to be honest. But at some point, hopefully this will turn, work its way on higher, break through that downtrend, and that will be the time everything looks really good for gold and silver mining companies. GDX, slightly higher to sideways, 0.2%. It is a bullish engulfing. It's a really small one. And we'll see if we can turn here. Same with SILJ. SILJ is getting a little bit of that same type of pattern that silver has. Little wick at the bottom, call it the hammer candlestick. So let's see if this thing can bottom out and try to turn. But yeah, that's what we've got for precious metals in the ETFs. Crude oil, basically, what is that? Down 1.3%, flat for momentum. We're still kind of chopping sideways here. We're in a Livermore cylinder here. So the Livermore cylinder is this guy here. Think of it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7's down here, and you get a couple of humps. And hopefully we can break and move to the upside in a big old fashion. Now, I know that they're releasing some strategic petroleum reserves, like 26 million barrels, I think, between March and June. They know this is coming. They're reading the same charts I'm reading. So yeah, they're going to release some as expected. I mean, when I say as expected, these guys are going to do anything they can to keep inflation down. They're going to do anything they can. I don't know if 26 million barrels is enough to hold this thing down. So, I thought they were going to go buy a bunch of oil at like 70 bucks or something like that. Looks like nobody wants to sell it to them because these geniuses haven't figured out that the oil companies are smarter than they themselves, and they're not going to shortchange any of the oil in the ground for the benefit of some people who want to try to manipulate the price lower. Problem is, when you become a net buyer of oil, guess what happens? you take barrels out of the market. You're not putting barrels into the market like they are when they do the Strategic Petroleum Reserve releases. So I think they're in a pretty tough spot. I think oil is going to rocket higher at some point here. I don't know when. I'll just say in the next month or two is probably when it's going to start to head higher. And hopefully we get a nice big run out of this. We've got the setup there, the Livermore cylinder. We've got everything set up. Looks really good for that to happen. Natural gas, putting a little bit of the pedal to the metal. This also has the Livermore cylinder. Now, I didn't put the bottom down here, but there it is. It's a big old one. A little bit of an extension to the downside here. Sometimes, maybe that's adding to, quote, the slingshot of this move. So it's like taking a rubber band, pulling it back, and it's going to slingshot that thing to the upside. Now, I don't know if the market conditions are exactly right for that to happen, because it highly depends on weather in Europe and getting those inventories drawn down. It depends on how much liquefied natural gas Asia, Japan, and all these other areas are going to buy. I should say China and Japan. But this is a cylinder. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7 is bottoming, hopefully, right where it's at. If we zoom in on it, because it was up 8.5% or so, do we have a bullish engulfing? It's close. Let's see what the next couple of days bring. If we see a nice kind of pop higher, breaking out of that, we'll say that 260 range, we get up above 270, I'd say there's a good chance that we start to bottom here and we start to move higher. We could still see, a hump like that, where we come on up to like $3 or something. We come back down to 260, 240, something like that. And we get that one last hump in there. So I like natural gas down here. It looks good. XOP, yeah, you know me, looking strong. I like it, guys. This is another bullish engulfing today that does generally move to the upside. We also have bigger buying pressure through this section here than the selling pressure. So that turn or that change in the green to red candlesticks of the size of those candlesticks is important, because in here we've got bigger red candlesticks than the green, and then this way on, that has changed. And generally when I see that, we move on higher. And no, I did not read that in a book. It's just things that I noticed looking at hundreds of thousands of charts. OIH, also, it's right trying to break out. We'll see where we go here. I think if oil breaks to the upside and natural gas, if we can get both of them to get going, we'll see a good move out of energy service. But I will say this, okay? There is some selling pressure in here. You got that large red candlestick, another one here, and another one here. We also got some pretty big green guys in here too. So there is a battle going on right now between the buyers and sellers, dueling each other back and forth. It is possible, if there was some way to get a pullback, that we come back like down here before heading higher. There is that possibility. But again, I'm not going to trade it or do anything. I'm just holding on. I'm going to ride this sucker, because in the long term, it looks absolutely fantastic for energy service. Now, the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust. This guy is looking juiced. I believe, I can't remember what the guy said. He said to the tits or something. I don't know, something like that. But here we go. This is kind of what I'm seeing here. Now, I'm going off the closing prices of these guys. That's why I'm contacting here. I'm not going off of the daily candlesticks. So this traded up and came back down. But we are closing at a pretty good spot here in a bullish engulfing formation, in an uptrend pattern, breaking a downtrend resistance. This looks good to, if the buyers want to push it here, it's going to go. And it looks fantastic. Now, the next thing that we should have our eyes set on is breaking this 1815 level. That's what we want to break. We are squeezing up into this corner here. Now, we still have, there's a possibility here too, where if I kind of come through here, let's go to the dailies real quick. I'm hitting the daily candlesticks on the bottom here. There is the possibility that we do go sideways for longer and get out even, towards the back end of 2023 before breaking to the upside. That possibility still exists. It's out there. But a lot of the candlesticks, a lot of the charts of individual companies look pretty good. URNM, the ETF, also looks pretty good. We've got a downtrend line here. We've broken that. We've done a retest move a little bit back to this kind of stronger retest support line. We're coming on up, and we've got a couple of bullish engulfings. We got one here and one here today. That generally indicates that we want to go higher. Doesn't mean it's immediate. It can be immediate, but it doesn't have to be. We could still go down, a little bit and go sideways before heading higher. Generally, what I do is I kind of just get in and hold on. That's what I do in this general vicinity here. So I think Uranium looks absolutely fantastic. We're sitting on top of the trend line, using it as support, and we could see a big old move come ahead of us at some point, hopefully soon. TAN, that's also still squeezing up like a beast. We're on support. We're getting support right where we're at, and it's still squeezing up, and we could see a big old move here shortly. COPX also moving higher, up 1.52%. So that's looking good. Nice strong finish. Good candlestick today. Let's hope that momentum can continue. Lithium also getting a little bit of buying pressure. Maybe we can get out of this little pattern that I drew in yesterday. But that's looking good. REMX is looking good. Looks like it's popping to the upside. Maybe we can get some momentum to the upside here shortly. S&P 500 just flat. That's a bloody nose. That's generally a continuation pattern to the upside because there isn't much selling pressure. It's not getting hit. The NASDAQ also moving higher. Kind of a strong candlestick. Doesn't look too bad. But we are definitely working our way on higher, so it looks good. And this could be a corrective phase. Just remember, we could do kind of like an ABC correction upward and then get smoked to the downside later. That is a possibility. EM, emerging markets, basically sideways today. Still looks good. There's not much large, red candlesticks all through here. There's hardly any. But there isn't much large green candlesticks either in this. So it's kind of a battle back and forth. XHB just moving sideways. That is a bullish formation with a bloody nose today. That's what it looks like. MU also just sideways today. Still looks good for a move higher. There's not much selling pressure pushing this thing down. We've got copper, the commodity itself, looking pretty good. It's kind of just moving sideways for the most part. We still have some selling pressure through here, though. So we'll see which way this thing goes. A lot of the times I don't really do much of anything. I just kind of hold on and wait because the fundamentals look absolutely ridiculously good for copper. Random length lumber. So this is lumber still heading lower. It looks like it still has some more left to go in it. We do have major support at 367 or so. But this is still bullish. We've broken the falling wedge to the upside. This is our pullback, and then eventually I think we'll work our way on up. This is very interest rate sensitive. The housing market in general is. Iron ore, slightly lower, down 1%. We're right on that breakout. We're right here on that breakout line, roughly, where I put that circle. Nickel just flat, going sideways. We're probably putting in some sort of pattern. Maybe it's a pattern like this. I don't know. We'll see. It's some sort of pattern going on here. But right now, nickel looks good on a long-term perspective. Just hold on and ride it. Aluminum down a teeny bit, down 1.65%. Let me type in aluminum real quick. Yeah, it's down a little bit, 0.6% on this one, aluminum spot price. But it is the inverted head and shoulders. It is coming back a little bit. But again, there's deficits out in the future of aluminum. Not too worried about it. Baltic Dry Index is finally, grabbing the sack and getting moving here. So, it doesn't look bad to me for the Baltic Dry Index. It's up 2.33%. Again, I think this is a false breakout down here, and we're going to head higher. Why? Because the Baltic Dry Index is like uber cheap to like everything. It's uber cheap to itself in terms of dollars. It's cheap against every commodity that you can basically compare it against. Everything. It's cheap against natural gas even. So this will eventually turn its way higher. This is a really good entry point for Baltic Dry Index and a lot of the companies. Newcastle Coal, slightly lower, 2.26. I don't know. These might be delayed today too, guys, but they're down a little bit there. Again, hold on to energy. We're in an energy crisis, and it's not going away anytime soon. Ethereum. Ethereum is slightly higher today. Go back to the candlesticks. Looking good today. Bullish engulfing. We're going to go higher. And then BTC, that also has a pretty good candlestick. Looks like we could potentially turn here and move on up for a little while. So that's what we've got for everything that I'm seeing in the markets. I think some of the companies look pretty bullish in some of these sectors. So I am definitely, I'm getting bullish myself. Uranium looks the best. Uranium, and I think some of the oil companies they're looking solid. Natural gas is starting to turn around a little bit. Hopefully this could be putting in a bottom, and then we can get moving to the upside, hopefully. But that's what I've got for today, guys. If you guys like the content, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and subscribe to the website if you guys like. Don't forget, Platinum question and answer session, Saturday, 7 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. See you there, and we'll catch you later. This is Finding Value.